So in today's little entry into the old Mushroom Massacre, we're going to be covering testimony from a representative for the Child Protective Services, a toxicologist, and a specialist in bacteriology and plant virology. Basically lots of big fancy words, okay? So let's go on and jump in.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup at hey.
Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. There's somewhere a sofa back there, and there's definitely a Paul right here. My name is Paul if you're new to the channel, and if you're not new to the channel, my name is still Paul. Today we're going to be continuing on into, I think we're at day 11, 12, something like that, in the murderous mushroom trial in Australia. So we've been following this, I have a playlist, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So let's talk about the witness Katrina Cripps. Now this is a caseworker, she was assigned to come in and like evaluate the Patterson kids in the aftermath of all this, right? Now she's an employee at the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing. This is the name given by Victorians for CPS. Now, for the sake of sofa time, okay, we're just going to talk about the new things that we learned from this witness, right? Some of her testimony was previously mentioned by other people, and so we're just going to get into like some of the main takeaways here, okay? So, Erin, when she was interviewed by Ms. Cripps, took a few swipes at Simon. Remember, Simon is the estranged husband. This was very similar if you've been following this. Erin had done the same type thing to some of her Facebook friends. However, jurors would hear that after the tax return debacle of 2022, remember when he said that he was separated, she began to feel like her relationship with Don and Gail Patterson had changed. And Erin blamed Simon for causing her to feel isolated from his parents. Now, Cripps was also told that the children didn't want to visit Simon on the weekends because he yelled at them and slept a lot. Now, her testimony would soon shift, though, to the luncheon that lives in sofa infamy at this point, okay? Erin told Ms. Cripps that she wanted to try something new and special, talking about this recipe, and that she came across this recipe in the Recipe 10 Eats, written by one of Australia's most popular home cooks, okay? Now, from what I can kind of gather of there, whatever, I don't really think it's a stretch to say that maybe she's kind of like the Australians' Rachel Ray, just like that level, okay? So imagine like over here in the States, somebody taking one of Martha Stewart's or Rachel Ray's recipes and going, with this or whatever. Now, in the chef's debut cookbook, she touted this beef Wellington recipe as like the book's crown jewel, and so that making the recipe foolproof was almost her undoing, okay? So you can only imagine now that Erin has done this, it's like, are you serious? And this is completely sofa speculation here, what I'm gonna do, but the book was published in May of 2023. This is one of the months when death caps are known to flourish in the region, and when an iNaturalist user posted a photo of the fatal fungi in Altram. There's that, right? Now remember, complete this with the phone data that suggested that she traveled to this place and Locke. If you remember, we talked about this already on the live chat channel. This is another area, Locke was another place where they had posted these pictures and the death cap mushrooms have been spotted. So you see all the things coming together with this, right? Now again, was I there? No, absolutely not. But it's very coincidental, if you will. Now also, total sofa sidebar here. At the time of this recording, the chef has not released a statement about the whole situation with Erin Patterson's trial or the beef Wellington recipe or anything like that. So I stumbled across the how-to video version for this beef Wellington, okay, which is kind of fascinating. So I'm going to put a couple of the comments up here on the screen. I'm going to drop a link down in the description box below as well. So let me put these up here and then we'll read over them. I'm here because Erin Patterson was here. Then Yummy having the in-laws over and using some mushrooms. I foraged to sub in for portobellos. This recipe is to die for. I mean, come on, right? Now, at the end of the day, I get this is, people lost their life over this, but it's interesting that people have made this connection all the way back down to here, right? I mean, it's in court. Now, like I said, I'll drop the link in the description below if you want to show some love over to the chef, because I'm sure, obviously, she's heartbroken that this has taken place and whatnot. And then if you want a deep dive, kind of cringe binge or whatever, check out the comment section, right? So back to the courtroom. So of course, we're all wondering, where did Erin tell Ms. Cripps that she bought the mushrooms? It was the Woolworths and the Asian grocer version of the story. Okay, same thing we've been hearing or whatever. Plus though, this little gem of a detail here, and I'm going to quote, I got the mushrooms from an Asian grocer because those would add a nice flavor to the beef Wellington. Okay, I mean, honestly, cannot roll my eyes hard enough, right? Now the next day, Cripps would schedule a home visit with Erin. They would have a conference call and they would meet with a staff member from the health department who earlier in the day reported to Cripps that she was not able to reach Erin. The department's main concern was where did she source the mushrooms from, right? Ms. Cripps told the jury that during the conversation between Erin and the health official that she distinctly remembers Erin saying that she could not recall where she purchased the mushrooms. And the court also heard Erin reviewed her online bank statements before speaking with the Department of Health employee, but she could not locate a record of buying the mushrooms. Now look, we've already established 100% that Erin absolutely failed True Crime 101, okay? So it should not come as a shock that she could not stop talking. Just as every good narcissist does. She has an answer for everything, right? Now in this example, she suggests that it may have been a cash purchase, which is why I can't see the transaction, I don't know what I did, right? Now Cripps can only say that she witnessed Erin scrolling on her phone. However, she did not see the screen. And that checks out, right? I mean, think about a lot of times you can't see what somebody's really doing on their screen or whatever. But Erin's diarrhea of the mouth, it only gets worse, okay? Now Cripps would also say that during another point during this home visit, that Erin would describe the dried mushrooms packaging as being, and I'll quote it, a bag that was not resealable with a white label. I had previously opened the bag, she said, but decided to not use the dried mushrooms. I had been planning to use them in a carbonara dish, but decided against it because they had a strong smell. So I placed them in a container. I decided to use the strong smelling mushrooms in the beef Wellington because they would be the primary flavor. Now, Ms. Cripps would also tell the jury that she pointedly asked Erin, if you had picked the mushrooms used in the Wellington, and Erin did not offer a reply to the question. Okay, so sofa sidebar here for a second. This is where it gets tricky because to me, again, I've said it a million times in all these videos, that is the excuse I would have gone with. But Erin has dug her heels into that I bought them somewhere, which is very traceable. So it's almost like she would have been better off being I was incorrect, right? And picked the wrong thing, but it is what it is. Now let's keep moving along here. So the prosecution calls her next witness up, okay? This is Dr. Dimitri Gerastomoulos. I hope I'm saying that right. We're going to say Dr. G. This person is the head of forensic science and chief toxicologist at the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine. He shared with the jury the rigorous checks and controls that his team stringently adhere to when samples are sent in for testing. I'm quoting them here. These measures include wearing gloves, protective clothing, and having a secondary team member supervise testing practices. Now, I'm going to do my best to sidestep some of the super technical parts of Dr. G's testimony, and I'm going to focus more on the big picture, okay? So Dr. G said that when testing for the death cap mushrooms at the Institute, they look for the presence of varying types of amatoxins. He tells the court that the lethal dose for a 154.3 pound, 70 kilogram adult would be about 3 tablespoons, okay? Keep that in mind. Remember, we talked about in the other videos and whatnot. Now, an exact lethal dose will depend on, again, I'm quoting, how much of the toxins are there. Now, these are incredibly toxic compounds with less than 10% of the mushroom actually containing both alpha and beta amanitin. Okay, now the liver can't process these toxins apparently, right? So once they're ingested, the liver will look to remove them. It tries to get rid of them or whatever. Now, he also said that even though they don't persist in the body for a very long time, the toxins may remain in the urine for a few days. Dr. G also confirmed for the jury, in this case, the Institute received a range of specimens for testing, which included both ante-mortem AM and post-mortem PM samples. I'm going to put a table up on the screen and we can look at it. So as you see here in this little thing here, you see Don Patterson, samples received, and then it says, the urine sample shows clear detection. Gail, it shows the things there. No detection of the amatoxins. Heather, no alpha beta. Ian, beta amanitin detected. And then Erin Patterson, none detected. Both the children, tested negative for that as well. Now, the prosecutor, Sarah Lentil, would tell Dr. G about that testimony of the mycology toxicologist who confirmed that, yeah, you know what, she didn't find any of that death cap mushroom stuff in the 2 visual examinations of the lunch leftovers. And then she would ask him like, hey, explain this for the jury. And he would tell her, and I'm going to quote, "We undertake an analysis at much lower levels than what the naked eye can detect. We rely on sensitive instruments to be able to detect very low quantities of chemical compounds, which otherwise can't be seen upon visual analysis." Now, they would also discuss this next little table I'm going to put up here on toxicological findings. So let's look at it and talk about it. Okay, so you see here it says the meat and mushroom plate both contain beta amanitin, and the vegetable matter and debris from the dehydrator one, it said some samples contained both alpha and beta amanitin. Now in the cross-examination, Colin Mandy would remind the witness that, hey, look, remember that these 2 samples that you got or whatever, they came from 2 different places at Erin Patterson's home, and they were put in one bag. And Dr. G would agree and say, and I'll quote, "It's not an ideal way to receive samples." Now then, Linda would conclude everything and ask Dr. G, if 2 adults with no serious pre-existing health issues consumed the same amount of the same meal, which contained death cap mushrooms, and one person died, what would be the health outcome of the person who did not die? And he replied, I'm quoting them, "There's likely would be adverse outcomes for the person who survived, the severity of which may vary." Now, that being said, we've got some DNA up in here. I mean, kind of, okay, it's mushroom DNA at least, so let's get into it. So Dr. David Lovelock is a research manager of diagnostics. This is over at the Plant Health Victoria. Now, the primary objective of this organization, according to the website, is, I'll quote it here, "helping to protect Australia's agriculture industry from exotic biosecurity risks like pests and diseases." Now, they would contact him, and they, meaning authorities, would contact him on day 4 of the investigation. They would request that he identify whether there were mushrooms in the samples provided. Now, Lovelock's testimony began with him talking about the process that he used to collect the samples for testing. He would also walk the jurors through the various precautions his team used, to like keep the samples, separated and all that stuff, right? So let's just jump into what the main findings were. We're going to go to another table I'm going to put up here on the screen. Let's talk about it. Okay, so you see it says here, sample 2 Ziploc bags containing beef Wellington. Results, only DNA was from button mushrooms. Then the next one, 7 test tubes with materials from dehydrator. Positive results with a 99% similarity to death caps detected in 2 vials. All that being said, let's take a sofa sidebar adventure for some tea time, or mushroom tea time, or whatever you want to call it. Now, you already know, if you follow the Alec Murdaugh case, trial, whatever, that, the egg lady got booted off for talking about, the trial before deliberations. We've got, Miss Becky getting arrested, all this type of stuff. Well, we've had some drama over here too. Okay. So the judge would have to get rid of one of the juror. He showed juror 14 the door, okay, for talking to family and friends about the Erin Patterson triple murder trial, right? He had already given directions, just like we've seen all the trials that we watch, whatever, like, don't do this, you're not to talk about this kind of stuff. Now, this is what he said, and I'll quote him. He says, "I have not made a positive finding that the juror talked about the case outside the jury room, but neither could I discount the possibility that he had." Now, I'm going to put this little screenshot up here and we'll read through it together, or you can just listen to me say it. Now, this is the jury admonition that he read when they were impaneled, and it's just part of it here, but we'll read through it. So it says, "I direct that you must not discuss the case with anybody else other than your fellow jury members in the privacy of the jury room. Don't discuss the case with anybody else. We don't want to risk your opinion, which is the only opinion that counts, being influenced by other people who are not members of the jury. Were you to discuss the case with others who aren't members of the jury or do your own research, you would be committing a criminal offense, and jurors have even been sent to jail for breaching those directions." So just like that, it's down to 2 alternates, right? And then obviously the rest of the jury. So, and we still got a ways to go in this case. This is like maybe halfway through, right? So there's that. Now, again, some of the stuff gets very boring testimony, so I try and not get too scientific-y with it. I can't imagine being one of the jurors or people in the courtroom and having to go through every last detail of this very science-y mushroom stuff. And I was talking about this in the live chat that we did, where I was like, if you follow true crime, follow me, any true crime, whatever. It's so interesting interesting, like how each case you will learn some very random information. So like this one here to me is like mushroom, right? We're learning about like all this type of stuff about mushrooms. You know, Nancy Brophy, we learned about insurance, you know, ordering a gun over the internet and putting it together. I mean, you name it, right? You'll focus in on these bizarre things in life, but I enjoy that part of it. I think that's interesting because it's almost like a random, almost like a How It's Made, you know, that series that comes out. So I like that part about true crime, but it's just weird like how much information we're learning about mushrooms, but it's obvious why we are, right? And I think it's very pertinent because this is very, some of this evidence, you know, helps the defense. Some of it, a lot of it doesn't. So I'm curious to see where it goes, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say in the comment section. But okay, let me know what you think down there if you are still watching. I greatly appreciate you. If you could drop some sofas off for Rosco and Spirit, Bo and Luke, myself, and the rest of the Sofa Squad, so we can all hang out, talk about these crazy cases. And until we do gather down there and do all that, I'll see y'all soon.
I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Rosco on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey, welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup that hey, come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.